Good morning, everybody. Today we will start a new topic, that is vorticity stream function approach for solving Navier-Stokes equations. I may mention that this approach is one of the earliest successful approaches for solving Navier-Stokes equations. Although it does not solve Navier-Stokes equations in terms of U, V, W and P, it solves the Navier-Stokes equations in terms of derived variables, that is vorticity and stream function. Having found out vorticity and stream function in the domain, U, V and P are derived out of that. So the governing equations become vorticity and the equation for stream function. I have already mentioned about the vorticity transport equation while discussing preliminaries, but I will mention it here again. We can see we have written full Navier-Stokes equations in 2 dimensions. Equation 1 is the x direction momentum equation and equation 2 is the y direction momentum equation. Now what we do, we first differentiate equation 2 with respect to x. So we find out x derivative of equation 2 and we get equation 3. Straightforward, just differentiate equation 2 with respect to x. Then we differentiate equation 1 with respect to y and we get equation 4. Next what we do, we subtract equation 4 from equation 3 and then we can see a new term del v del x minus del u del y appearing in the governing equation as a dependent variable. And all of us know that in 2-dimensional analysis on the plane where u and v velocity are describable, omega is the vorticity and vorticity is given by del v del x minus del u del y. So this term del v del x minus del u del y we substitute by omega and finally we get rho within bracket del omega del t plus u del omega del x plus v del omega del y equal to mu into del 2 omega del x2 plus del 2 omega del y2. This is called vorticity transport equation. Equation 5. So this special mention was needed because we will be using this equation as the governing equation. Having done that, let us go to our main topic we decided to discuss today, that is solution through vorticity and stream function approach. So again what we have done, we have written x momentum equation as equation 1, y momentum equation as equation 2, continuity equation, and then we have defined u velocity and v velocity considering the presence of stream function in the flow field. Then u velocity becomes del psi del y, v velocity becomes minus del psi del x. Equation 4. And omega we have already defined in our preliminary discussions, that omega is vorticity del v del x minus del u del y. Now in omega, where we have written omega equal to del v del x minus del u del y, equation 5, if we substitute equation 4, v is substituted as minus del psi del x and u is substituted as del psi del y, then we will get an equation which is Poisson's equation in psi or stream function. So del 2 psi del x2 plus del 2 psi del y2 equal to omega. This is our equation 6, Poisson's equation in stream function. And equation 7 we have very elaborately discussed, that is the vorticity transport equation. So equation 6 and equation 7 are the equations of interest for the solution we are going to discuss. So what we do, we start computational strategies with equation 6. In equation 6, we substitute del 2 psi del x2 in terms of its finite difference quotient through central difference discretization. Similarly, del 2 psi del y2, we write central difference discretization. And then we set del x equal to del y. There is no harm in doing that. We simplify problem a little bit. And in usual stream function vorticity methods of solution, if we go for a finer grid, taking del x del y is quite easy and rational. And then since we are discretizing at the point ij, so this omega value we take as omega ij. And then we try to find out expression for psi ij. You were, I think, confident now. Psi ij will be created like, when you do central difference, it is psi I plus 1j minus psi ij, twice psi ij plus psi I minus 1j. Similarly, here also we get psi ij. So now we write psi ij, we transfer all the terms on the right hand side, and this is psi I plus 1j plus psi I minus 1j plus psi ij plus 1 plus psi ij minus 1 plus omega ij into delta x square whole quantity divided by 4. Because we have taken del x del y, it becomes very easy to find out this expression, which is, as I said, comprising of psi and omega by 4. And this is equation 8. Now let us look at vorticity transport equation. This equation can also be discretized at ij point. And if we do that, we will get this expression. I'm going back by the one slide again. So this will be uij. This will be central difference of omega at ij point. This will be vij. This will be central difference of omega in y direction at ij point. And nu into diffusion terms, which will also be discretized by central differencing. We have exactly done that, what we said. This becomes equation 9. And equation 9 also, we can now substitute delta x equal to delta y. And if we set delta x equal to delta y, from equation 9, we can easily find out an expression for omega ij. And this becomes 1/4 of, within bracket you can see 1 minus half uij delta x by nu into omega I plus 1j, 1 plus half uij delta x by nu into omega I minus 1j. Similarly, omega ij plus 1 with a coefficient comprising of v and nu and grid size, and omega ij minus 1 with a coefficient which has vij delta x and nu. But these coefficients are not constant coefficients. These are all again dependent function. Uy is related to omega, vij is related to omega, uij is related to omega. And now, if you recall, we defined u and v from stream function in equation 4. We go back and we write uij simply, since this is del psi del y, we apply central difference psi I j plus 1 minus psi I j minus 1 by twice delta y, and vij is minus del psi del x. Again we apply central difference psi I plus 1j minus psi I minus 1j by twice delta x, and this is del psi del x with the minus sign. This is equation 12. So in our domain now, equation 8, next equation 10, equation 11 and equation 12, these are the governing equations. So we now get a system of simultaneous equations given by, I've already said, 8, 10, 11 and 12 to be solved for psi ij, omega ij, uij and vij. So straight away we go to the solution strategy. Now, together with the solution strategy, we take a model geometry where we'll be discussing the solver first, then we'll extend it to other geometries also. This geometry is called backward facing step. You can see there is one step at the bottom wall. Top wall is plain, like a plain channel wall. This is the inlet through which fluid comes, and B4 is the outlet boundary through which the fluid leaves. The geometry looks very simple, but this geometry can be related to many geometries of practical interest, starting from combustion to several other applications, number one. And number two, that this geometry has been accepted as a model geometry for benchmarking the flow. Whenever new algorithm, new strategies, new discretization procedures are devised, results are executed on some model geometries. You will get later one such model geometry is called lead driven cavity. We'll discuss that later. Another such model geometry is backward facing step for flow benchmarking, solution benchmarking. So you can see B1, B2 and B3. These are parts of bottom wall, and B5 is the top wall, B4 is the outflow boundary, and inlet boundary I have not defined it with any other nomenclature, clearly written this is inlet boundary. And again we have taken delta x equal to delta y. This is for some simplification of understanding. You can always take delta x different than delta y. Accordingly, the equations have to be modified. So what we do, how to set up the algorithm, that we know the boundary condition. I mean, we have not discussed so far, but we'll discuss shortly about the boundary conditions. Boundary conditions have to be known on all confining surfaces. So we'll have to apply boundary conditions on u, v, psi and omega. Choose the initial values of psi omega at all interior points, and what I have written here, taking initial values for vorticity as 0 is usually acceptable because this will be generated depending on the flow dynamics. So initial value is 0. Initial value of psi ij at each I column of points can be calculated from the axial velocity profile at that location. That means all I column of points, that means if we take, for example, I equal to 2, and here j equal to also 2, but I equal to 2 at j equal to 3, j equal to 4, j equal to 5, j equal to 6, etc. can be calculated from the initial velocity profile that we take. As we have said, that psi and u are very directly linked. I will show you how that can be done little later. Now we are discussing about overall strategy. Let us accept that psi can be assigned that way. So I column of points can be calculated from the axial velocity profile at that location. However, uij for all interior points can be given any constant value, say u infinity, where u infinity, if we think about entry of the flow, even if it has a profile, it can be expressed in terms of u infinity. As uniform flow, we give this condition all interior points, and all interior points initial condition vi equal to 0. Now if in this geometry, for example, everywhere initial omega, initial psi, initial u, initial v is there, then from the expression of psi, if you recall, what was expression of psi? Equation 8. So surrounding psi's and w's, we can, at a point of interest, we can calculate new value of psi. We do that. Then we assign boundary conditions and check the distribution of psi, whether it is, a plausible flow distribution, and then again we go for next iteration. So calculate everywhere psi ij using equation 8. Gauss-Seidel or over relaxation type of calculation is done. That means if we start with a value, say psi ij k prime distributed everywhere, and then psi ij k plus 1, we calculate from equation 8. So psi I j or I plus 1 j, I minus 1 j, or all points psi, we are calling initial value as k prime, and then this value which we are determining from here, we are writing psi ij k plus 1. So exactly that psi ijk prime was initial distribution, and psi ijk plus 1 we calculate from there. But since we are accelerating the calculation, what we are doing, that we are saying psi ij k plus 1 prime is the most updated value. So old value plus over relaxation factor multiplied by new value minus old value. So where you can see psi ij k prime is the value in the previous calculation or the previous level. Psi ij k plus 1 is the most recent value calculated from equation 8. F is the over relaxation factor. It is usually, I'll discuss it again later about over relaxation factor. It is 1.2, 1.5, 1.3, something like that to accelerate the calculation. And psi ij k plus 1 prime is the newly adjusted better guess. Then after finding out, as I said, new psi ij, we calculate from there again uij and vij using equation 11 and 12 at everywhere, and then we calculate omega ij all interior points using equation 10. Apply appropriate boundary conditions which are to be discussed now, and we check the velocity field whether it has converged. So next step is it should be 8, some printing mistake. 8 is the final step. Go back to step 4 and calculate psi ijk plus 1 with the help of current value of omega ij and psi ijk values, where k denotes the previous level. After evaluating psi ijk plus 1 at all points, find out psi ijk plus 1 which are indeed improved values. This is k plus, this should be also k plus 1 prime. Start repeating step 4 to 8. Please correct this. This is not 5th step, this is 8th step. So 4 to 8 till we get convergence. That means there is no more change in psi values, or we have to give some convergence criteria, and we have to check. If it doesn't meet that criteria, we go back to again step 4 and come back from step 4, execute step 4, 5, 6, 8. This is the way in iterative format we go for the solution. Almost it is like solving unsteady situations, which we have done earlier through iterative procedure till we get steady values. Here, of course, there is no concept of unsteadiness. We are not marching in the time direction, but the way flow field is evolving almost like marching in the time direction. That is why such procedures are called pseudo time marching. Pseudo time marching, not actual time marching. And repetitively, as we said, we calculate psi. From psi we find out uv. From uv and psi we find out new omega. We apply the boundary conditions and check whether psi has changed or not through some comparison, psi at the previous level and psi at the new level, or omega at the previous level and omega at the new level, and till we get the desired convergence, we keep on doing the iterations. Now we have to discuss the boundary conditions. First set of boundary condition which we will discuss is the bottom wall boundary. Bottom wall boundary, again I am going back by few slides to the geometry. Bottom wall boundary means B1, B2, B3. Now, very straightforward, all these nodal points, U is 0, V is 0. That is perfect representation of no slip boundary condition and impervious boundary condition. Then we will also set psi equal to 0, because psi at the initial, at the bottom wall, because psi, if you remember your basic fluid mechanics, psi in a domain is indicative of mass flow rate. So psi value at the bottom wall taking as 0 is quite rational, because everywhere U is 0. So we can directly put Uij equal to 0, Vij equal to 0. Since the line B1, B2, B3 is a streamline, any constant value of psi on it is acceptable. The usual choice is psi ij equal to 0. So we have given boundary, I have discussed boundary conditions on U, boundary condition on V, boundary condition on psi. Now we'll discuss boundary condition on omega, on the bottom wall. So bottom wall is still continuing. At no slip boundaries, omega ij is produced. This is a very remarkable point. Even if you go for real analysis of the analytical method, through analytical methods, if you recall what you studied in boundary layer, that because of boundary layer formation, the U velocity is set with a gradient at the wall. So U velocity gradient is del U del Y. Since del U del Y is being created, this will finally culminate into a non-zero term of del V del X minus del U del Y within the boundary layer. And there is a possibility, or this is how the vorticity is generated. So that physical discussion may be pertaining to viscous flow theory or basic fluid mechanics. I have just mentioned about it, but we utilize that physics. At no slip boundaries, omega ij is produced. It is a diffusion and subsequent advection of the wall produced vorticity which governs the physics. So this vorticity, how it is diffused and convected, that governs the physical situation. Even when you will read turbulence, or if we get an opportunity to do the turbulence modeling, you will see that this generation of vorticity through the solid, due to the solid wall, will play a very important role in turbulence modeling, understanding turbulence, where vorticity is a very important parameter. Anyway, here we are not going to that extent. We are just mentioning it, but we'll calculate correct vorticity at the wall. So now see, if we take B1, the just entry part of the backward facing step or this channel, we can expand psi js plus 1. What is js plus 1? Again, go back to the boundary. see, if we say that this point I equal to 1 and j equal to js, right? And this is js plus 1, this is js plus 2. So there what we wrote, psi I js plus 1 we express in terms of psi I js through a Taylor series. So psi I js plus 1 equal to psi I js plus del psi del y ijs into delta y, simple Taylor series, half del 2 psi del y2 ijs del y square plus 1 by 6 factorial 3 del 2 psi del y3 ijs into del y cube, and higher order terms and higher order derivatives. We are not writing all equation 30. Now, what is del psi del I at ijs? That means del psi I on js means on this surface. This surface psi means psi is 0. We have already said. So let us go back. Del psi del y at ijs equal to uijs equal to 0 by no slip boundary condition. And also we know that u equal to del psi del y. So we can find out double derivative. Del 2 psi del y2 at ijs equal to del u del y at ijs. We leave it there. We are not giving any value right now. We are saying we are just setting del psi del y and u at ijs, that means on the surface is 0, and we are mentioning that this is due to no slip condition, and we are mentioning that del 2 psi del y2 equal to del u del y because u is del psi del y. Then again omega is del v del x minus del u del y. Along the wall del v del x is 0 since v is 0 all along. So along the same wall del v del x is 0. Now in this equation omega, if we substitute del v del x is 0, then omega at ijs, that means at the wall, becomes minus del psi del y ijs, del u del y, del u del y ijs, and del u del y is prevalent there because it is the within the boundary layer from the first point, and this is the velocity gradient. It is present at the wall, so minus del u del y ijs. Now minus del u del y ijs we have written, if you can see, just 2 steps before, del 2 psi del y2 ijs is del u del y ijs. So omega is basically, if you say minus del u del y ijs, we can also say it is minus del 2 psi del y2 ijs, omega. Now in equation 13, del 2 psi del y2 we substitute by omega, and if we substitute by omega, this will be minus omega. Then we can write, we can transfer other terms on the left hand side. Del psi del y is 0, so del I js plus 1 minus psi I js plus 1 minus psi I js divided by delta y square multiplied by 2 is omega. So exactly we have, but psi I js is again 0. We substitute that because on the wall psi is 0. So then omega becomes omega I js equal to minus twice 2 has been transfer to left hand side twice psi I js plus 1 divided by delta y square. This has been 0, and if you properly take care of the sign, you will get omega I js is minus twice psi I js plus 1 by delta y square. Psi I js plus 1 is known. From the velocity profile, we have to learn how to evaluate psi, and then omega will be prescribed. So this is how at the bottom wall we prescribe u, v, psi and omega. Now we go to or a little more that if you look at the geometry, we have taken a backward facing step. I mean, this is horizontal, this is horizontal, this is vertical surface. So to generalize this, we can say that basically this is, instead of saying minus twice psi I j plus 1 by delta y square, we can say minus twice psi what the neighboring point of the wall. That means if wall point is considered as the no slip boundary, so w plus 1 minus psi w by delta n square, where n is the normal distance from the point on the wall and immediate neighboring point. So delta n instead of delta y, we are writing delta n. Delta n is the distance from w plus 1 to w in the normal direction. So, and this is equation 14. And that is how all the bottom boundary conditions, bottom wall boundary conditions have been explained. Now we go for upper boundary condition, upper top wall. That means again go back to the geometry B5. Now when we discuss upper boundary, B5 in the figure is having the usual no slip and impervious condition. That means uij equal to 0, vij equal to 0. This is no slip, this is impervious condition. And now since omega ij to the near wall point from the wall can be calculated by knowing the normal distance up to the first grid, that means grid thickness, we can apply that, calculate that. So omega ij equation 14 will apply. So on the top wall uij, vij, omega ij we can prescribe now. Problem will be with psi. Not the problem, but you have to understand what psi is. The value of psi ij at the upper wall, again constant. Throughout the wall it will be same, is constant and may be evaluated by integrating u velocity profile at the inlet. This is from u equal to del psi del y. So psi equal to integral u dy. So u velocity profile at the inlet. Integration may be performed through Simpson's rule, or you can use Gaussian quadrature, or you can use trapezoidal method, anything. But if you use Simpson's 1/3 rule, it's also quite accurate. So psi ij at w, that means upper wall, equal to y at j's, bottom wall here, and y at j equal to j max. J max is the last point in j direction, which is at the wall. u y inlet dy, equation 15. So if the upper boundary is a confining boundary, like what we have taken, u v should be set equal to 0, omega can be found out from equation 15, and psi can be found out from omega can be found out from equation 14, and psi can be found out from equation 15. Now I will just mention, since it's a general discussion, even though we have taken a specific boundary where top wall is a rigid wall, there may be external flows. We may consider modeling of external flows also using stream function vorticity method. And that's what, if you recall my introductory lecture, was the first successful computation of Navier-Stokes equations done by Fromm and Welch in Los Alamos, and Thoman and Soucek in University of Notre Dame, probably. I'm not recalling exactly the university where they worked, Thoman and Soucek. So they modeled, both these groups modeled basically flow past a circular cylinder. Now circular cylinder, when you, some such flow, it may be circular cylinder, it may be square cylinder, it may be aerofoil blade. Basically, boundary is well defined, solid boundary, but other side is open. It's extending to infinity. And in order to calculate accurately the flow field, you set up a boundary condition at the other extreme away from the wall as far as possible. It should be unperturbed boundary. So I have mentioned what Thoman and Soucek did. They used a treatment which specifies far field condition. In the far field, if it is undisturbed field, we can say omega ij equal to 0. With del psi del y equal to u infinity, maybe a uniform stream may be considered, which is flowing with u infinity velocity, and del psi del x equal to v equal to 0. So unperturbed stream, only streamwise velocity is there, which is u infinity. V component is also 0. It is quite far from the solid boundary. And u equal to u infinity was also utilized through a Neumann type of condition. That means setting up del psi del y equal to 0. So instead of confining boundary, it becomes a free boundary. Then we can follow the strategy of Thoman and Soucek, but it should be sufficiently away from the solid wall. Omega ij equal to 0, del psi del y equal to u infinity. So u equal to u infinity, v equal to 0, and psi value, considering del psi del y equal to u, and that u equal to u infinity. So between just two neighboring layers in the far field, that means, why I'm saying neighboring layer, topmost layer nomenclature is Ju, just one layer below the grids, J direction nomenclature is Ju minus 1. So psi I Ju equal to psi I Ju minus 1 plus u infinity into delta y. Here delta x, delta y are same. So, but for generality I have written delta y is equation 16, where B5 is considered at j equal to Ju. What I said, that means the topmost boundary is at j equal to Ju. But confining flow, your geometry is fixed. If it is basically external flow, then it should be, depending on your computer capacity, number of grids you can take, but it should be located at a faraway location as far as possible from the solid surface, solid boundary. Now, inlet condition. So for the axial velocity u, uniform or parabolic or any possible profile can be taken. So inlet profile, when you model any such flow, has to be known. If it is not known, you can say uniform velocity profile or a parabolic velocity profile or any profile that you choose. And if you know from elsewhere, like if it is you are doing a parallel experiment, experimentally obtain velocity profile, you can map that. So it is up to you, you have to prescribe it. But I have just given parabolic condition. U equal to U infinity is very easy. Instead, if it is a parabolic profile, you can see we have written I equal to 1, ui equal to 1. That means at the first column of grid points, j will vary from j minimum to j maximum. J is is a variable which is varying, equal to 1.5 for the channel flows into u infinity twice your u average 1 minus y by ym square. This is ym means up to the middle of the channel, right? I have not written here specifically. I have forgotten to write. Ym is the mid height of the channel, right? So j equal to js to j max. It makes a parabolic velocity profile with the center line velocity as 1.5 into u average or 3 by 2 into u average. And this will give the variation in y direction, parabolic variation. Equation 17. Now we have to specify the normal velocity. That means v velocity. And we can follow the recommendations of Fromm and Harlow. I have already mentioned. They were the first to model successfully using stream function vorticity approach. And here Vij equal to 0. Of course, at the inflow plane, I equal to 1. So J will vary from Js and the solid surface to J max. And if on all J points, it will be 0. V1J equal to 0. That is equation 18. Next, we will work with the stream function. And as we have already said, stream function can be obtained from the axial velocity profile. Integration of the axial velocity profile. Axial velocity has been defined by equation 17. Here again, psi at I equal to 1 for different j's, j equal to 1, j equal to 2, j equal to 3, j equal to 4, up to j max. Rather, j equal to js to j max, we will integrate it from y equal to js to specified j. Whatever is the value of j, j equal to 3, j equal to 4, up to that specified j, we will integrate the velocity profile and find out the stream function for the entire inflow plane. And this inflow plane, it is defined by psi 1, I is fixed at 1, and different j values obtainable from this integration. J equal to j's to any specified j, and this is given by equation 19. Vorticity also depends on inlet velocity profile. Now, different people considered vorticity, what should be the inlet vorticity on the inlet plane, a different way. Pau and Dougherty, they used uniform axial velocity profile. That means u equal to u infinity, v equal to 0, and then specified omega 1j equal to 0. So inlet plane, they prescribed initial omega and then also as boundary condition omega as 0. Greenspan, a great mathematician, fixed up psi 1j from the axial velocity profile, similar to what has been given by equation 17. So psi ij from the axial velocity profile, this I have discussed already, and then assumed del v del x 0. So if you take this velocity profile from where you calculate psi 1j, and j is varying 1 2 3 4 5, so basically you are calculating all psi values, and then you can say Greenspan did del v del x equal to 0, so that omega is del v del x minus del u del y. Omega is everywhere del 2 psi del y2 at the inlet plane given by equation 20. Now, last set of boundary conditions. This is given by again we have to ensure that the flow should leave the domain without getting disturbed. That means if we can set something like del u del x equal to 0, del v del x equal to 0, del psi del x equal to 0, del omega del x equal to 0, we are giving minimum disturbance because it's elliptic equation. You have to give boundary condition on all confining surfaces, but n boundary condition is not known, and n boundary condition has to be determined. But for solving the flow equations, you have to apply. So you apply physically such a way that n boundary condition poses minimum disturbance to the flow field in the interior domain. And that is how we have gone. What we did, we set del u del x equal to 0, del v del x equal to 0. Thoman and Soucek developed outflow boundary condition for omega by setting del omega del x equal to 0. That means the wave velocity is coming del u del x from the interior domain, it will continue. The way v velocity has been developed in the interior domain, it will continue. The way vorticity has been generated and vorticity is interacting, it will continue, it will have a smooth exit. So exit boundary condition is needed, some value has to be given, but the value will pose least disturbance to the interior flow field. Then from del v del x equal to 0, they derive del 2 psi del x2 equal to 0. That means if we take delta x constant, you can take variable delta x also, but let us assume delta x equal to constant. Then del 2 psi del x2 at the point I equal to I max. That means at the end point in I direction. For all j's, we have to prescribe that. If we go for, the setting up these conditions like del omega del x equal to 0 or del psi del x equal to 0, del 2 psi del x2 equal to 0. So what has been done? This is exactly, you can see that del omega del x equal to 0, omega at I max, j is throughout the column, all j's, j omega I max minus 1, that means just the previous point for all j's, divided by delta x equal to 0. So which finally culminates in omega I max j equal to omega I max minus 1j. This is del omega del x equal to 0. And how to set del 2 psi del x2 equal to 0? We apply central difference on psi at the end point, the points at the exit boundary. That means all these points j will vary, I equal to I max, but we apply central difference. Central difference means we will involve I max minus 1 and I max minus 2, because usually central difference you will have 2 points on either side of the point of interest, and this is called second order differencing in one side. That means it is called basically one-sided central difference. So we'll I max j is the varying parameter, so I max equal to twice psi I max minus 1 minus psi I max minus 2. Again, if you think that j is same, at any j you will consider this condition, j equal to 1, j equal to 2, j equal to 3, it will be same, but what we have written is psi I max minus twice psi I max minus 1 minus psi I max minus 2 by delta x square equal to 0. Then from there we can get this. This is called one-sided central difference. So taking I max as the point where we are going to determine psi, and we are making use of psi's from the immediate interior points and generating this value, so that it poses minimum disturbance to the flow field. So u and v will just follow what we have written for omega. I max comma j equal to I max minus comma j for omega, for u, for v. So that is decided, and for psi we apply second order derivative, this del 2 psi del x2 equal to 0, one-sided central difference. We are being located at I max and involving I max minus 1 and I max minus 2, both the points from the interior domain, and generate this value. So this is how the geometry of interest that we have taken can be solved. And the first part of stream function vorticity method is over. Remaining part we will do in subsequent lecture. We'll stop here for today. Thank you very much. We'll meet again in the next lecture. Thank you.